And hello, Flomies. We're here today with Moss, aka Mossy Poi, chatting about all the things that attracted me to him in the first place and learning a bunch of new information. Namely, you do a lot of fun-loving activities. As a poi spinner and slackliner, combining those is very hard, but it doesn't translate to video. Like the difficulty doesn't translate to video. So if we could start by just talking about spinning 2, 3, and 4 poi on a slackline and how hard it really is.
Well, I think that it was hard at the beginning, right? And actually, when I started spinning poi on a slackline, it was a couple of years ago. I learned to spin poi originally like 10 years ago, and same with slackline. And I did it for a number of years, and then I kind of fell off. And then a couple of years ago during the pandemic, I had an idea. I was like, wait a minute, what if I put these two things that I'm already familiar with and comfortable with on their own together? Right. And so that really got me back into both of those activities. It really got me back into the excitement of learning new things with poi and with slackline, and was really a way for me to kind of push my growth edge, right? My challenge edge in a way that was really exciting and fun. So it's hard for me to say oh, it's so hard, right? Because practice and practice and practice, it definitely becomes easy, right? For me. And I see a lot of people, or people walk by and tell me oh, I could never get on a slackline. And for me, it's yeah, you could. You just need to it just takes practice, right? Anyone can do it. If you can walk or run, you can balance, right? And so really you could get up and try it too. Is kind of the attitude I have. It's not about I'm just innately skilled in
Right.
Right. It's that I spend a lot of time doing this thing that I love. That yes, it's challenging and it's also so fun, right? It's this new kind of puzzle for my body. Yeah.
Yeah, puzzle for the body because it's working your sort of micro muscles instead of a large compound flexing movement where you're just moving a bunch of weight. It's these micro adjustments when your legs get sore and strained in ways that they wouldn't if you were running or doing squats or deadlift. It's this weird workout. It's like a puzzle workout.
Yeah, which is also how I see poi in general, or just dancing in general. My favorite thing in the world is dancing, actually, which is why when I spin poi, it's more so I'm more so into the flow than the tech, right? I really appreciate and admire flow artists who stand there in one spot with their feet planted and spin poi. But for me, that's not as fun and interesting, right? Whereas moving my body and shifting and that kind of that puzzle of how can I move my body? How can I be fun and playful and expressive in various different ways is really what draws me to all sorts of the performance arts that I've engaged in before.
You'd probably enjoy spinning poi and hoop on rollerblades or roller skates. I've been doing that every Thursday at the roller disco. It's so much harder than standing on regular shoes.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy spinning poi on rollerblades,
Yes.
on longboard. Those are things that I've done a bit of and really would love to do more of. But yeah, I really, especially right because of just the changing, the dynamism and the changing of directions and especially with a prop like poi that's not static. It's yeah, it's really difficult to difficult to figure out that puzzle again of well, if I'm turning on the rollerblades, yeah, how the fuck do I do this in such a way that I don't it doesn't get out of control.
Tell me if you agree with I call it the slackline sort of formula for success. It takes about 200 attempts, broken down into 4 sections. So when you first start walking across, you have 2 big 6-foot long sturdy sticks. You walk with one in each hand and you stick them to the ground. So you have point of contact with the line, point of contact with your right hand touching the ground and your left hand touching the ground. They have the ones that hang overhead, but I'll explain why I don't like that in a second. So you go across 50 times, right? That's the first 50 with 2 sticks. Then you go across 50 times, and you can't do it all in one day. It takes about a month, right, of doing it every couple days, let's say. Then you do it with the stick only in your right hand. Then you do it with the stick only in your left hand. That's 150 times, right? 50, 50, 50. Then you do it 50 times where you have one or both sticks and you sort of take a couple steps and then drop one and take a couple steps and then drop the other and see how far you can get. Or instead of dropping it, you can just keep them hovering above the ground. So they're not actually touching the ground. They're just hovering there. And when I tell people that that's the amount of attempts, they can go, oh, I'm willing to do that. Or, oh, I'm not willing. And I'm like, yeah, I really don't feel like it's that hard if you have those sort of crutches. I learned without doing that, and it took way longer. But then at work, I had this kids camp where I would set it up and I would teach kids to do it. And using that method, some of them could learn it in a much shorter amount of time. Like, tell me about your time frame and like, sort of crutches and tools you use to help other people figure it out.
Yeah, so that sounds like a really like thought out, well thought out kind of regimen of like how to do it in like a structured kind of way. I don't have that same kind of structure. Like when I'm teaching people to slackline, I will tend to stand right next to them and like invite them to put their hand on my
Yeah.
shoulder, right? And just
Same.
like use that. I also like really try to encourage people not to try to like walk really quickly, but just to like more so get comfortable stand once the initial wobbles that everyone has, right? In terms of just the over correcting that everybody's body does naturally in the beginning of the process. Like after that kind of subsides, I really encourage people to just practice standing on one foot and like really using
Yeah.
their leg and their whole body as a ballast, and in order to like get just comfortable doing that, in order to then take one step and then get comfortable standing on the other foot, right? So that there's more intentional like movement with steps after one has like a bit more comfort just standing on the line. Yeah, so that's kind of like how I encourage people to do it. And also, yeah, I like the stick method. This sounds really like a good way to do it. And just like for me, yeah, it's just like standing there, like telling them to put their hand on my shoulder, and then just inviting them to like, as they feel a little bit more comfortable, to try to lift their hand off my shoulder, right? Like
Hmm.
to rely on it less. Have it up for a second and then okay, come back down, and then like have it up for 2 seconds and then come back down,
Hmm.
right? But just inviting that, like trying to be comfortable with just like being on your own, but right, knowing that right there is like this way to rebalance if you feel like, oh, I can't do it on my own anymore, right? And also like I think in terms of like I've noticed, some people will try it once and be like, oh, that's cool, like I'm good, all right, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
Right, whereas there are people like myself that like I tried it for the first time and I'm like, wow, this is so fun, I'm gonna get back on,
Must learn.
I'm gonna do it again and again and again, right? So like I think that's another part of Slackline, is that like for some people it's just like this really exciting fun thing, and for others it's not, right? So it's not that like the first group can like is better able to do it, right? Or the
This
second
time.
group couldn't ever slackline, right? It's just right. It's like the investment. They're like, what do I want to do with my time? What brings me joy and enjoyment, right? Like, oh, and if it's slacklining, then I'm gonna put energy into doing that, right? And if it's not, I'm gonna go do something else, right? Which is something that I'm very much in favor of. Like, I'm not trying to tell everybody, oh, everyone has to slackline, right? It's like, no, like this is a really fun thing that I like to do, and if you
Here
like
if
to,
you want it. Yeah.
come on up, right? For me, like I believe my life's purpose is joy, is bringing joy to the world, right? Both through like and also experiencing joy, right, in myself and the things that I do. Just really like I think I'm strong at like play, right? I can work, but like play is like such an important part of my life, and that like brings me so much joy. And also through like, yeah, encouraging other people to lean into like what brings them joy. Um, I'm like working to fulfill my life's purpose. So if that means somebody like hops on a Slackline is really loving it, perfect. Let's do it, right? If not, well, fuck Slackline. Go and do something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah. Like teaching people how to say it's okay if it's not for me and just moving on. That's why
Right.
you got some poi off to the side if they don't like the slack line. If you don't like this string, you'll love this string, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Oh man,
Here's my options. Yeah.
I had a funny story. I got two short ones. I used to leave my slack line set up between two like palm trees where I
Mm.
worked on this beach when I was younger. And people would walk up and be like, "What is this thing?" And they'd see it had two like broken paddleboard paddles next to it. And they'd be like, "I think you're supposed to walk on it." And I would always come out like holding a burrito and be like, "Yeah, I think you're supposed to walk on it." Like, and I would walk on it while eating a burrito. I'm like, "Oh, it's not that hard." And then I actually learned from a little kid how to do like a backflip off it. And so I was like 99% success rate. And like this one time I was doing it and they're like, "Oh, he's done this before. This is his thing, obviously." I'm like, "Yeah." And so I go to hit the backflip off it, but it like, does a weird thing. No, it unratcheted. It was like, how sometimes if you bounce, it'll like come undone.
Uh-huh.
It did that. And so I like lost all my elasticity and I did like half a backflip
Oh,
and like my open eye just like touched the sand. And I
oh,
remember like I was looking at myself in like my phone or a mirror or something, and like my eyes just covered in sand. And they're looking at me and they're like, "Dude, what was this guy thinking?" He
oh, no.
like, and
It
I
must
was
not
like,
have been the guy. He must not. It must not be his
it's like it's
Slackline.
not this guy's crazy. And then they're like, "Okay, let's go, kids." And and I'm just sitting there like not sure if I should blink, if it's gonna be like sandpaper or I think I honestly splashed like salt water or Gatorade or something, just whatever I had to get it off. It was so dumb and painful.
Oof. That sounds rough.
So I was like, you got to go through a couple of those moments to put your ego, like find the the up and down of where your ego had, because a strength overused is a weakness, and it was definitely me doing too much.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely like to try to be cautious in terms of how high I set my slack line, especially like, more recently I've been trying to work on adding more jumps in, right? And there have definitely been times when the line's too high, I jump, I miss, and my legs are on either side of the line. And yeah, it's like, no, thank you. So it definitely, yeah, is a helpful reminder to be like, no, let's do the line a little bit lower so that's not a possibility.
I once saw my cousin. He was just learning. He's walking and he fell and he like bounced on his crotch and it launched him. It bounced and it launched him straight up in the air. And while he was in the air, he was like, "Oh!" And then he bounced straight up and then he hit it again. And then he fell. He got kicked in the nuts twice, basically. But he was like, maybe 7 or 8 years old, so it wasn't that bad. But I was just like, man, I hope that never happens to me.
Yeah, for me, it seems to like there's some sort of like I have like some sort of shock response, and so or like it's like delayed. Like the pain doesn't come until like 30 seconds to a minute later. I'm like, oh, okay,
True, actually, yeah, true.
and then I'm like bending over, like, it hurts.
Your body's like doing like a damage analysis. It's like
Yeah,
some what do you call it? Osmosis Jones has to like rush to the site and do a damage report.
Mhm.
But anyway, okay, so we both love Slackline. It represents the learning process and connecting with other people. On a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult is spinning poi on a Slackline, and why is it so much harder than doing it on flat ground?
I guess this is like a hard question to answer. It's like on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard is it for me? So like for me, how much more difficult is it to spin poi on a slack line than on the ground? Um, I would say it's probably like a 7 or an 8, but also like
Yeah, I agree.
it's just like the way that I'm spinning on the ground is so different from the way that I'm spinning on the slack line, right?
Oh, good point. Yeah.
So like what the tricks that I'm doing, the flow that I'm doing is just so drastically different that it's like I don't know. In some ways it feels like comparing apples to oranges. Like
Mm.
it's hard to like say exactly. And there are some ways in which like it doesn't feel like more difficult at all to spin poi. And then there are some moments where it's like, yep, nope, that doesn't work. I can't do that. Like yet, even though I'm like super, proficient at doing a trick on the ground. Um, so yeah, I think that people, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking from, I'm definitely biased, right, in terms of my experience with slackline and poi. And I think that from that biased perspective, I think that people overestimate how difficult it is. I think that that stops people from trying, right?
Mm.
Oh, like that's so hard. I can never do that, right? And then so why bother giving it a try? Right? I think that probably more people could just hop on a slackline and start spinning. At least if you have some experience with slacklining already, right? And flow already, that more people could hop on. And I wish that more people did hop on a slackline and give it a try because I think that yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's an overestimation of like, oh, that's incredibly difficult. So I could never do it, so I won't try.
Yeah, I think Teton Juggler is like multiplying the amount of jugglers on slack lines. I've even seen this like slackline park where people were passing, dude, I want to say they were passing like 7 or 8 clubs and they were standing with their feet on the line like sideways instead of kind of like facing forward, walking like this. They were
Yeah.
sideways
Yeah.
swaying, doing the surf, and they were passing like that. It was like idling or whatever. And so I'm like, whoa, is this about to really increase in popularity? Like, what do you notice about slack lines and juggling and flow arts related to Teton Juggler or not?
Yeah, so I mean, when I found Teton Juggler, it's funny because I have his stickers right here.
Yes, dude. Shout out.
Shout out Teton Juggler, woo! But yeah, like seeing him or seeing other people and him like slackline flow, or slackline juggle, I'm always really excited. I'm like, yes, more people who are doing it, right? And so like, I'm like actively seeking out more slackline flow artists. And so it seems as if
50% gravity is the other guy. He does dragon.
50% I don't know that. I don't know this person. You're gonna have to give me that.
He got added to the Flow and Fire team like I think a year or two ago. But I've been following him since he started. His slackline dragon staff is really impressive. I think he does other props too on there. Yeah, 50% like underscore gravity or something.
Okay, well that's good to know because I'm gonna have to find. Yeah, right. I'm always looking for more people because I feel like this affinity. Oh, so you do it too? Like fuck
Oh
yeah!
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
want there to be more people doing it, right? So I hope that it becomes more popular, and I'm gonna do my part to try to make it more popular. Right, like I'm going to the Great Lakes Flow Retreat in a couple weeks, and my plan is to just like set up my slack line and just be spinning poi on my slack line probably like a vast majority of the time, and just encouraging people to come on over and give it a try, right? So like, I'm doing a little bit of plotting of like how can I like really kind of inject this into the flow community a bit more. And I think by going to flow festivals and just setting them up and just doing it, and then those who want to give it a try, like yeah, helping them out is the
Put a
way.
little sign that says like quit slacking and start slacking or something like that. People are like, all
I
right,
like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
you
I
got
like
me.
that. Yes. Okay. Now we're brainstorming how to do this plotting together. I like this. Yes. Okay. Stop
So
slacking, start slacking. Love it.
So we both agree slacklining and flow arts is great. We both love 2, 3, and 4 poi. Can you tell me a little bit about your fashion style? Because as I peruse your page, I'm just like, your closet must be like an acre wide because you have so many crazy, awesome outfits. It's like your life is a festival and you're always expressive and you've got the best colors and you're always smiling. I'm just like, this is the most like what's the word I'm looking for? Like usually they put the word chic after like boho, bohemian chic,
Uh-huh.
juggler, flow artist. Like I'm just like I want to know where you get all your clothes and like how you use it to express yourself.
For sure. Yeah. So my like fashion, which is like, the fashion that you see on my Instagram that's just like my everyday clothes, right? That's like the clothes that I wear to go be a therapist, right? I back in the day would wear like fun, colorful outfits at like a show, right? Or at a special event. And eventually, in different communities that I was a part of, I did that a bit more here and there. But it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I decided, you know what? I like dressing this way at special events. Why not just express myself in the way that I enjoy in all of my life? And so I started doing that and haven't stopped. Um, and yeah, for me, like the fun, colorful pattern and intricate patterns and those kinds of like, it's just like, I don't know, I feel drawn to it. I really enjoy looking at it. And I feel like it really is a representation of like how I see myself. So I really love being able to express myself through my fashion. Um, I do a lot of my shopping at thrift stores, and a big part of that for me, well, one of it's fun to like be a little be a little gatherer,
Yeah, not
and
dumpster diver. What do
sort
they
it
call it?
out.
A bin scrounger or whatever. The
Yeah,
bins.
just like lean into my evolutionary trait of being a hunter gatherer. The gathering part of like, oh, I'm gonna like find some cool like things in the mix of you know less cool things. But a big part of thrifting for me is that I really prefer to be using reused items as opposed to new items. So like something that really has drawn me for a long time to thrift stores to
Same
second
for sure.
clothes. And so I end up finding a lot of treasures there. I actually right before we like earlier today I was at a thrift store and I got like 10 new amazing items that I'm excited to incorporate into the mix. So
Oh yeah,
but like yeah, and I went to the and when I went, this is the outfit that I went to the store in, right? Like
yeah.
this
That
is just
shirt
like
is
walking around.
amazing.
I know, right? It's a newer piece. So yeah, if you want to hear more about my sense of fashion, there's actually a link on my link on Instagram is to a video that my great uncle did of me, an interview with me specifically about my fashion, which you would
Oh,
hear.
Michael Freed. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a bit about me and my fashion.
Thrifting. Okay. Yeah, I think I spent at least $100 at Goodwill this week alone. I get a lot of like little plastic bins and everything. I actually one of my videos I want to make for flow arts curators, 5 items that flow artists can pretty much always get from Goodwill. It's like prop bags because those are expensive. Fire safe clothing, tripods are always there. Like you never need to buy a new tripod. I'm drawing a blank. Like little implements to hold your fire props, like little candle holders that just look better than just setting them on the ground.
Uh-huh.
And then I guess like a towel or something for fire safety. But anyway, I love Goodwill. I get so much stuff from there ever since I was in high school. I have.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
same.
Okay, so eclectic fashion, combining slackline and flow. Tell us about how you started adding more poi to just two poi. Like you added three and then four. I haven't seen you do five yet, but like I wouldn't be surprised if I saw like double digits of poi at some point.
The double digits. So actually I went from 2 poi to 4 poi. I didn't really spend like any time at
Mm.
all in 3 poi. I will do some 3 poi, mostly when my fourth poi has dropped. I'll keep flowing with the three, but to be honest, I haven't done really that much 3 poi. It's really kind of for me, it was just kind of a jump into 4 poi. And again, that was like another growth edge, learning edge, like a place that was like brought excitement, right? That like there are a lot of like tech poi things that I don't know or can't do perfectly, right? But I'm like less drawn to some of the like technical things that are more about like the two-dimensional like performance kind of thing, and I'm more drawn to like what feels good with my body, what feels interesting
Dance.
is in that puzzle, right? That movement puzzle. So adding 4 poi was like, yeah, was another iteration of that. I'm like, all right, I'm bored of the slackline
Mental
poi. It's
progressions.
over it. I need to add in 4 poi. So let's go. Um, and yeah, word on the street is there might be more than four coming at some point, but you didn't hear
Been
it from
studying Coach Jay or something, huh?
who's that? No,
Coach Jay is Jeremiah. Um, is it? I always get Jeremiah Johnston and Jacob. It's Jeremiah Jacobs. It's Coach Jay. He juggles five poi where he does a butterfly in each hand, and then the one in the middle is just like constantly up there, and he does some crazy grip switches, which I'm into. And he's never done like a tutorial on it, so I sit there and I'm like, how do you get that fifth? Like, how do you even get the third one in one hand going?
uh,
But it's like that. Talk about a puzzle. And I've
yeah,
seen I think two or three pum pum poi and Coach Jay and Bo and Armin are the only ones I've seen do like wall plane five poi juggling, which I'm not. I'm never gonna juggle five poi, but I'll certainly watch it and like try to figure out a flash of how to do it just for fun or something.
yeah. Yeah, I definitely like. I mean, I know. Yeah, 5 poi juggling. I know people who like do juggling of more than 5 poi, and I've heard about the some of the people who can do the butterfly tosses kind of thing. But I didn't say anything about juggling. I just said something about 5 poi. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I'm excited. Um,
we'll see what happens. We'll see. No promises, but it is semi in the works.
Tell me about your love of spinning with hoopers as well. Like a lot of your videos feature that, like that hoop guy. And I forget the young lady's name, but you have a lot of videos where you're like, I forget if you're hooping in all of them, but like, what do you like about a hoop and how does it combine with poi? And what is your, it just seems like you really like spinning with hoopers, which I think is like, that's a cool theme to see in somebody's page.
So I mean, I think you're seeing like the recent stuff because I went to Electric Forest actually for the first time this year, and there was a flow meetup, and so I got to meet Amber Flows, who's the person you couldn't remember the name of, who's a hooper, and like yeah, all those other hoopers in that collaboration video that I did recently, like the Flow Kitten and a couple others, but I wouldn't say that like I like have spent especially a lot of time with hoopers in particular. I like spinning with other flow artists, and yeah, so I don't really know if I can answer that question in like the best way, because for me it's like, oh yeah, I like that hoop guy, and so I saw him and asked to do a video together, right? And I have these other people that I've been following that I really enjoy watching their hooping, and so figured like I want to like flow with you and get some content together. So
It
um
was great. I really enjoyed it. It felt like, I feel like when hoopers collaborate, it's more smiles and dance than it is when like poi spinners do sometimes. I just
maybe that's what it is. It's because like for me, like I'm about the dance, like I'm about the movement. I'm not necessarily about the tech. Like I can do tech, but like that's not my that's not what drives me in my flow art journey.
it drives me out like tech probably drives me like with three poi it drives me a lot. With two poi not so much. With two poi I more just want to be like, hey, look where I danced or look where I performed. But with
Mm,
three poi I'm like, look what I figured out because I was baked in the gym all winter, just like labbing. Like you could do this cool thing. I hope you like it, you know?
yeah, and I actually really appreciate that. I really enjoy watching your videos, especially your tutorials. I
Yeah.
think you
Thank you.
do very well, and have learned a thing or two from them. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I didn't do a three poi challenge this summer. there was like decent engagement on the last one, but I really want to do another three poi masterclass. I think that three poi is lacking some vocabulary, like Voita and Bo, and yeah, Voita and Bo are the main two, like 2 and 3 poi Patreons that are like absolutely amazing. Even
Mhm.
if you can only afford it for 1 month, I highly recommend you go watch them. Because like Drex and Nick Woolsey are the standard for poi tutorials pretty much, and they don't really have. I don't know if they have any three poi tutorials, and I'm like, oh man, I love poi juggling. I think it's such a goofy feeling. I kind of want to put some stuff out there again this summer, so I'm playing with it. The master class got like less than 1,000 views, so I don't know if that's good or bad on YouTube.
Mhm.
I'm just like, do people want to watch three poi tutorials?
Mhm.
Me and Patrick were talking. He's like, dude, my 2 poi videos do really well compared to my 3 poi ones, and I'm like, I'm not that good at 2 poi, so I'm just kind of in this weird lane where the tricks I like to explore and share are so niche where like if it does well, it's only going to get whatever a couple dozen views, but like those couple dozen are maybe highly valuable. I don't know. 3 poi is such a niche. I don't know exactly where to go with it. I like performing with it, but progression requires like so much effort.
Mhm.
And I jacked up my shoulder this winter trying to learn more. So
Mhm.
honestly, dude, I've been spinning my double and triple hoops more lately, and my triple staffs.
That's
I don't know. Do you spin other props? Like if you ever get bored of poi?
No, not really. I mean, I've like played around a bit here or there with staff or boogang or other props.
Oh, I
Um,
could see you playing with Boogang for sure
yeah, I
on the
think
slack line.
if I am to get another prop, that's like high up on the list of like things that I would likely get into. And for whatever reason, I've always just kind of really enjoyed poi and haven't felt like an inclination to set them down for something else. Um, yeah, I'm definitely open to it and like wanting to expand, but just haven't really so much yet. But yeah, look out because yeah, maybe Boogang on Slackline is coming to you soon.
It's so funny because in my head, I imagine like I saw images of you juggling clubs really well. And then you were like, I don't even juggle clubs. I was like, what?
I don't
How did
juggle.
I come up with
Juggle
that?
at all. Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
not even like I confused you with someone else. I was like, Moss for sure juggles 3 clubs and like is like fun circusy style with it. I'm just and you're like, no. I was like, no kidding. Like I thought for sure you did.
I mean, I toss poi, but like that's the
Yeah.
exact. I can't even really juggle. I mean, that's another thing that I would love to learn, like and like actually practice more, is juggling. But again, it's like I don't know. I just like love poi and slackline and dancing, right? I like rather just be dancing.
It
It's
is
just
hard to dance and juggle. It's nearly impossible. You could walk, you can do some
whatever,
goofy movements, but it's hard to
right,
dance.
right. Or you can bike or ski if you spend an exorbitant number of hours practicing.
Scuggling. I have juggled a lot on my longboard, but like you're looking up, so if there's a crack or something or a car coming, it's just like so dangerous.
Yeah, that's another thing that I want to do more of is the like longboard poi spinning. And like with the whole scuggling thing, I was talking with a friend and I was like, wait a minute, maybe I should do something called joy, which is jogging poi, where I just like get a video of me like just on a jog, like just spinning poi, just jogging. So
There's
maybe
a guy who did a marathon juggling balls, and then he did another one juggling clubs,
wow.
which I was like, if you were in a pack of people, that'd be so obnoxious if you like dropped it and had to go find it or something. But he
Yeah,
didn't. Apparently, he didn't drop. Where I'm like, dude, how do your shoulders not cramp up?
yeah.
Like if I do like a 1 or 2 minute juggling run, I'm like, whew, time to hit the showers, boys. Like I'm exhausted.
Sounds like you're not practicing enough.
3 hours. I gotta hydrate more. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
What is your training regimen like?
I don't have like a regular training regimen necessarily.
I
When
just
it's warm
like
out,
practice.
when it's warm out, I try to go slacklining as often as possible. Um, but yeah, it's just kind of I get out, I go, and I do it when I feel like it. I think that like yeah, it could be better if I had more of like I do it for this amount of time every day, and I do these drills and then these drills and that kind of thing. But really, it's just whenever I feel inclined, I just go out, I hop on the hop on the line. I try working on things that I've been working on. Same with the poi. So it's pretty disorganized as it is.
You say that up, but I'll bet there's really good progression to it because I've seen some of the stuff you do. I'm like, how the heck did he catch that? Like, he didn't even like his balance stayed so perfectly centered. So I think you're maybe not. I'm not going to say you're not giving yourself enough credit. It's more like maybe you don't feel the progression, but it looks amazing to me as a spinner and slackliner. Like
Mm.
that is so I love it. And another thing is I like the videos where like the line is kind of going at the camera, right? And
Mhm.
then you're balanced here, and it kind of like focuses on you, and it just has this unique sort of like videography effect of the line like coming right up to the camera.
Mm.
It just is like a cool perspective, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Do you find that filming at that angle, like you purposely go for that visual of like I think it would be 1 point perspective?
Um, I'm still trying to figure out like what's the best angle for like filming things on the slack line. It seems like there are angles that people like more or less. And really as it's kind of just like wherever I can get it to go. Like a few months ago, or no, I guess it was last summer. I got a gimbal that had like a little stand, so like that like helps in terms of like placing it somewhere nicely. But before I had that, it was just like stick my water bottle up and like try to prop my phone up, right?
Yeah.
So like being like, oh, I can just like stuff a shirt in the end of the line and then stick the phone in there, and that'll work, right? It was more so just like scrapping together what I had in order to take some footage as opposed to like a super artistic angle. Although I do like that angle of yeah, from the tree, especially when the line is moving up and down and that
I
kind of
would love some point of view videos where you have it like
yeah.
on the head is good, but I think for poi spinning, you'd almost want to like
Mhm.
sticking out of a backpack and like back here a little bit so that it's kind of
Uh,
like you could see the top of your head. Because if it's like here, even if it's a super wide GoPro, it's like still hard to tell exactly.
yeah.
I would definitely watch that because then you'd have a little bit of like not vertigo, like the balancing aspect of it.
Yeah.
I love stuff when the video makes it feel like the viewer is moving or is present besides
Uh-huh.
just watching. They're involved.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you just like stick your phone like in your hat or something. I don't know the budget version of it, but
Well, I just bought a GoPro, so I'm really
yes.
excited to
Which
start
one did you get?
playing that. The newest Hero 11, I
Oh,
think it
bet.
is
Dude,
the.
yeah, those are crazy. The
So
stabilization on those is wild.
so yeah, I'm really excited to start playing around with that and definitely want to do some like POV stuff. So
Yeah, goal pole, I think a goal pole sticking out of a backpack, going back like that, and then aiming would
yeah.
be an angle. It might be hard to get it, do a couple takes, but yeah, I love using my GoPro. For surfing, I really liked the chest cam. For snowboarding, we held it on the end of like a paddle, so you could like move it back and forth. It was not stabilized at all.
Uh,
And then for biking on my head was good. Um, the head strap is super cheap, like 20 or 30 bucks. Totally worth it.
yeah.
Tag me anytime you post anything with that wide angle lens on Slack Poi. I would love to
Okay.
see that.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. That's the plan is to have that coming out soon. Yeah, I'm really excited to play around with all of the things that a GoPro will provide, and I'm planning on getting all of the things to be able to try it on the head, the chest, and whatnot. So
Yeah,
uh,
and you can like airdrop it to your phone so you can edit it like right there. It's so sick.
can't wait. I can't wait. I just charged it, so it's like just now ready to be busted out.
Okay, so speaking of GoPro, do you see the flow arts becoming more mainstream and becoming, or do you think it'll continue to be more of a niche? Because like, do you think it'll ever make the Olympics? Because I don't know if you knew this, but hooping is an Olympic like event, and it's
Mm,
unbelievable. Like if you type in Olympic rhythmic gymnastics hooping, like your jaw will drop at how good they are. And I'm
mhm,
like, I could easily see juggling, yes, poi, like perhaps. It might. Maybe I don't know. Do you see flow arts going more mainstream because of how popular it's getting and all the fusions and do you? Because I taught poi poi. I'm sorry, flow arts and juggling as a class at a middle school.
mm.
Do you ever see it like making its way into mainstream culture, or will we always be the woodland creatures who spin balls at festivals? You know,
Well, why not both?
it'll be both. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, I can't say what the future holds, and I can say what I hope it holds, which is that one day, slackline poi will be the number one Olympic event, or like slackline battles or something like who can stay
A
on the
100 feet in the air. Yeah,
longest. Like,
highlining.
yeah, like all of the different slackline stuff will like our highline stuff will be like the most watched sports event ever. That's
Yo,
like
slackline, rope dart, fire dart battles.
Yeah, that sounds great. Like, let's do it.
I
Yeah,
would I would for
I
sure
know.
do that.
I think of that. It makes me think of the juggling battles, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, that the
Dude,
competition.
I've done competitive battle juggling. I get bodied so fast.
It's like so
Like
fun. I
I
want to do
get
that
bodied,
live
dude, because
version.
the people you wouldn't think are aggressive, like as soon as it starts, they're like, I'm gonna fucking win. And
Uh,
and like the way they start is everyone hits their clubs on the ground. So it's
uh,
like you're like, oh shit, like this shit just got real. Then you start juggling. People will throw them like super high in the air, and just run up to you and like smack your shit and then catch their own and keep going. Where I'm just sitting there like I don't know, like I've even like knocked myself out so many times just out of nerves. I'm like, this is not usually how I approach this.
yeah.
I like competition, but the battle juggling, like, it would be so easy to honestly like really injure your eye.
Hmm.
Like, I would for sure wear some safety glasses next.
Goggles.
I'm gonna bring some safety glasses next time I play because I'm like,
Nice.
dude, I'm like,
Maybe it can be like wrestling, where it's like really theatricized, and you can like wear a whole like transformer outfit, or so, be a whole
yeah, vision all LED, and you're
battle
like
armor, like
red versus blue team, dude. That's
yeah.
hilarious. So you're on the Flow and Fire team.
Nope.
Correct? No? Yeah, we gotta talk about getting you on there because your influence is it's just great. It's so specific. I'll put in a good word there.
I
Do you,
I I don't. So like, here's the thing. Like, I haven't really tried to get sponsored or like be involved in a team. And the reason is that like I really just enjoy flowing for me, and I don't really necessarily. I'm like, I'm open to like doing collaboration with people, but I don't really want to have my flow art um experience
monetized
be
label?
moved into like, oh, I'm just trying to uh yeah, get you to buy this thing, right? Not to say that that's all that happens for somebody who's sponsored, right? Like, I just like, for me, it's just like nice to have the freedom to just kind of like do my flow, and like and do it for the enjoyment. I think about other times when I like have sold things in the past, and like in some ways it kind of, it really detracted from
It
my
could ruin it, yeah.
experience. Like, people suddenly went from being potential friends to potential customers, and I really didn't like that. I really didn't like having that perspective of, oh, every time I see somebody, I'm trying to like get them to buy this thing. And again, not to say that like being sponsored by a flow art company like leads to that inevitably. It's just that like for me, I'm a little bit tentative in terms of like if I
Yeah,
would,
boundaries,
right, like that. It's nice
ethics.
to just be able to just like do what I do for the joy of it. Um, yeah, so happy to talk more about that. And also, like, that's kind of like where I'm at in terms of my perspective on what works for me, right? Again, not judging other people who like,
Yeah,
but
I can tell. Yeah. Yeah, you said your goal is to spread joy, and from there I could tell it's more of an emotional, fun-loving, community-based thing rather than like a step ladders to success kind of like regimented approach.
Mhm.
Which is like just from my lifeline, like I am very like regimented and want to climb ranks.
Mm.
Why? I don't know, left brain type situation. You represent the reason I enjoy the conversation with you is because you represent pure joy. Like, what would be your either spirit animal or like spirit character? Because mine would be like a squirrel who's saving up nuts and is kind of like ADD, or like some type of somebody who's very goal oriented. You give me more of the vibes of like a something more mythical and more, God, what's the right word? Not mythical. Something more lighthearted. Like, what's the literary energy you're putting out there, would you say?
Uh, like, what kind of energy do I bring? The first thing that came to mind was like a jackalope, or just like something like
Nice.
a
Yeah, jumping
combination of
around.
people that like, yeah, maybe, yeah, it's just like kind of silly. It's like, what, like a little rabbit with some big horns, like just kind of like is unexpected maybe. And yeah, I guess I think about like when I go out in the world, and I like, yeah, there's jumping, right?
You do jump like that a lot too.
Jumping, and also the like double take of like, wait, did I,
Yeah.
what's going on there, right? Because like for me, when I'm out in the world, like I'll have my like part of like wearing my clothes is like seeing people like it
React.
brings joy to them, right?
Yeah.
Seeing them do it, that double take, or like, wow, like that's so weird, right? Because like weird is great for me. Like, I think that it's a positive thing. And so like, yeah, I guess like that's the first thing that comes to my mind in terms of the
Jealous.
like,
I've never
like
heard that answer.
mythical
That's
like,
amazing.
creature energy that I might embody.
Mine's similar, but mine's much more like um common. Like, I just really relate to squirrels.
Mm.
And I'm just kind of like feel like I am one.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
seem like
like
a squirrel. Yeah. You got
Not
the squirrel vibes.
squirrel energy.
I bet you have some nuts squirreled away at some point. Yeah.
I do honestly eat way too like nuts is probably like at least 40% of like what I eat every day calories.
Oh yeah, wow. To be honest, I actually have some nuts squirreled away. I've got like these black walnuts that I processed.
You say black walnuts?
Yeah, that I gathered and processed a long time ago. I
Oh,
mean, they're
dude,
still
black
in the,
walnuts are so good.
yeah. I guess I shouldn't be talking because I've literally got black walnuts squirreled away.
Dude, I was trying to explain how black walnuts taste to someone, and they like were I can't even describe their reaction. They were like, "It's probably not that good." I was like, "Dude, they're the best. They're like 5 times the price." I said that they taste like cake. It was like the only thing I could come up with. It was like a stupid.
Mm.
I couldn't come up with a good. They almost taste. They're so stupid. They taste like cold. Or I can't come up with a way to describe them. Like nutty or something. Like, how do you describe the taste of black walnuts?
Yeah, I don't know if I can.
Right? They're so unique, and it's like they don't have the consistency or the taste or the price point or the like aesthetic of a regular walnut. They look like pecans almost or something.
Yeah, the problem for me is how hard they are to break out of their shells. Like I
They're
have like
crazy hard.
unshelled black walnuts that's part of why they're squirreled away. I just haven't put the effort into breaking them up.
Yeah, you can't use a regular nutcracker on them. You probably have to use like some sort of like oyster shucker or something.
Like take a hammer and just stick them in a sock and start
Yep.
hammering away.
Dude, that is so funny. I haven't had those since I can't find them anywhere. I guess I could order them, but I always used to get them at Publix when I lived in Florida, and it was like $9 for this little bag. And I was like, worth every penny.
Mm-hmm.
Squirrel. Yeah, I am a squirrel.
Nice.
Any notes you want to end on? I mainly covered like fashion, slacklining, poi, your joyous energy. I have like one last thought, I guess I would say is like you are always filming in different locations. Do you film spontaneously or do you plan locations? Because like when I'm scrolling your page, I'm like, it's like almost every video feels like it's somewhere new.
Mm.
Is that an intentional?
Yeah, so I mean, the reason that I started the Instagram in general was to like incentivize me to give me an exciting thing to do that like got me out the door to go slackline, to go spin poi, and to show and so like part of that is like going to new places to do it. So it's not, so I think there's a little bit of sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to this specific place to like I'm gonna climb this mountain, right? In Colorado when I was living in Colorado, and bring my slackline and my poi and set it up and then like make some cool videos,
So
right?
worth it. Yeah, I'm so glad you post those. They're so cool.
Thanks. Yeah, and like I just like my slackline lives in my car and I bring my poi with me everywhere. So there are also times when I'm just like, oh, I've got some extra time. I'm gonna like go to this cool place. You know, like I do kind of try to keep track of like, oh, there's a really cool mural that I'd like to take some footage at some time, or this cool sculpture. So there are times when I'm just like out and about and it's just kind of incidental that I'm like, oh, I'll set up my slackline and spin poi. And when I'm setting up my slackline and spinning poi these days, I just happen to film, right? So I think that's kind of it's just like a mixture of planning out and also
Spontaneous,
just
yeah.
this year and I'm just gonna go places. But yeah, like that's something that really excites me is like, oh, I'm gonna go on an adventure and bring my slackline and poi. And then I can post it, share it later, right?
What width slackline are you on? I think I saw 1.5 inch, right?
Yeah, it's a 1.5 inch.
Expert level, dude.
I'm like way overdue for like a new slackline. I actually have never bought a slackline. The slackline that I have was given to me by a friend of mine in undergrad way back when, who like he was the one who actually taught me to slackline. And I
Does he know how much like love you're putting into that thing?
Yeah, he does. He does.
Oh,
yeah, his name is Ryan Melnick. He's an artist. He like made this sticker.
That is super sick.
That's his art. But yeah, I owe my slacklining journey to Ryan Melnick, and he gave me that
Ryan
gift when I was leaving Santa Cruz way back when. So yeah, it's definitely time for me to get another line, and I really, really love the slackline that I have.
Yo, I gave my ex-girlfriend a slackline many, many, many years ago before I like probably around 2017, 2018. And then I hadn't checked in on her for a little bit. And the last post I saw was her highlining on the Oregon coast, and there was a whale breaching in the background.
What?
And she was like struggling to slackline while we were dating. And it was like after we broke up, she really leaned into it. And it was like her thing because she needed, something because we were together for a while. And I was just like, Oh my God, I've never seen a whale and highlining. Like it obviously was taken with a drone. She was obviously out in the middle of the line.
Uh,
You know, she's not like she's in good shape, but she wasn't like didn't look like your typical slackliner. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is like I'm not gonna give myself credit, but giving her that slackline, she always appreciated it. And I was like, man, you love to see when stuff comes back around.
you're doing the work to make slacklining into the Olympic event that it was meant to be.
Battle poi slackline over a cliff.
Let's do it. I'm
But
ready.
you'll body me
Let
for
me know.
sure, but I'll definitely step onto the line with you, dude.
I love it.
All right. Any final thoughts on everything we've talked about?
Um, I just have really enjoyed our conversation, and
Yeah, me
I'm,
too.
yeah, looking forward to eventually meeting you someday, right?
Come to Kindle.
I mean, come to Great Lakes Flow Fest
When is it?
in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks.
I I I booked my entire summer. So like everyone's inviting me to this cool stuff. I'm like, I have to
Wait,
work.
when is Kindle?
September 9th.
Okay, I think I heard about it. I heard about it from Danielle.
Hmm.
Um, um,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's teaching.
So I'm making no promises, but maybe.
Well, come kick it in Portland before and after. We're gonna have a solid crew from Boise out here. Uh,
That's good, yeah.
Come kick it with Patrick, and we'll set up the slack lines. There's some really cool stuff near Kindle, like the Oregon coast, where said whale was
Uh-huh,
seen.
uh-huh.
And then you can stay at my place. So there's tons of cool stuff if you ever make it out here.
Okay, well that's and you just listed many additional reasons why I might come.
Do it. Awesome. And
Yeah,
I'll let you know if I can make it out to the Midwest. I'll have to plan. At this point, I'm planning like many moons in advance.
for
But
sure.
dude, sick. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the insight. And I'm probably gonna have to set up my Slack line later today.
Yeah, I challenge you to do it. Get out there. What are you waiting for, huh?
I got a studio session and then
No, I don't want to hear excuses. No
yeah,
excuses. Get out there, get on the line.
cancel my day and hop on there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
I'm just gonna stop the recording.